Hello, everybody. Ryker Richard here, reacting to the Raptors' 118-112 victory against the New York Knicks. If you're anything like me, you were flicking back and forth between the Raptors game and, let's face it, the Zion Williamson game, or the 4-minute stretches at the beginning of each quarter that he gets to play. But it's obviously not a podcast about that. But you don't go into a New York Knicks game expecting the Raptors to really have a tough matchup. Now, the Raptors, they're a team traditionally that likes to play down to their opponent's level at times, and they do get caught with maybe lacking in defensive intensity and just not coming out with performances that you'd expect from the caliber that the Raptors are. They're one of those teams that really just likes to play slightly better than whatever team they're playing against, and tonight I think you could chalk it up as being one of those nights as well, because a pretty strong beginning of the first quarter leads into a bit of a deficit, close game at half. You kind of expect them to pull away at some time in the third or the fourth, which they did. We'll break all that down, but then all of a sudden it gets close again. The New York Knicks, they had an opportunity to win. And it's not even exciting down the stretch where it's back and forth. Who's going to win this match? You kind of think, well, the Raptors are definitely going to win, A. Or B, if they lose, it's just going to be really disappointing. And luckily, we saw a really fantastic closing performance from Pascal Siakam and a couple of just good, solid performances all around. But the one thing that I'll say, the two things that I'll say about the New York Knicks, one, it's disappointing. The three things that I'll say about the New York Knicks, one, it's disappointing that we didn't see RJ Barrett play tonight. Obviously, the fourth game now that he's taken off because of injury, but you do want to see that Canadian boy play, and I still think he's going to be a good talent in the league at some point. Maybe not right away, but at some point. And number two, wow, for such a terrible team, there is an excitement. There's a reason that Madison Square Garden, that the New York Knicks, they have the most marketable franchise. The fans were still into it. I'd say half the fans were probably Raptors fans, albeit, so there was maybe that inter-fan rivalry, but they're for such a bad team, they still do have a solid fan base. I'll credit them that. And then finally, the last thing that I'll say is the Raptors traditionally very good defensively, and guys like Marcus Morris, they're going to get their points. Julius Randle, he's been averaging about 18 to 20 points per game. But people like Damian Dotson, they don't need to be scoring 21 on 7 for 10 field goal shooting. I apologize, Raptors fans. You got to do better than that, because when you have a team full of high potential guys that never played out, at least let it be one of those guys that scores in you, not the Damian Dotsons and the randoms coming out of the woodworks. That's all I'll say about that. But we'll swing it over to the positives. The Toronto Raptors, the team that we all came to see, and Pascal Siakam, after coming off of recently being named an Eastern Conference All-Star starter. What a career this guy has had. He delivers a pretty good performance, 23 points. He maybe could have got more if he was a little bit more aggressive throughout the game. I don't think New York has any matchups that are that strong, maybe a Robinson or whoever. They have some long athletic guys, but he capped it off with a blow-by by Marcus Morris when the game was within 1 point to make it a 3-point game. A blow-by to finish it with a slam with maybe 1 minute left. That was an all-star move. That's an all-star caliber finish. And then the most impressive thing of the entire evening was the confidence to take that spot-up three off the dribble. They sag back. They're worried about the drive. Of course they're going to be. And they don't expect high efficiency beyond the range three-point shooting from Pascal Siakam. Well, that's their mistake, because he went up there, he knocked it down with confidence, put the nail in the coffin. Any other analogy that you want to use for ending the game. The fat lady sang. It was really just a solid performance from Pascal Siakam, and matched with the 23 points until the final three, or the final couple of free throws at the end of the game, was Kyle Lowry, who also played really fantastically this game. And, we can also, I feel like I'm going to be skipping ahead of myself here now and jumping ahead of the segments, but even OG Anunoby, who didn't really appear for a lot of the game, played some pretty heavy minutes, but didn't put significant contributions on the box score. He had that clutch three towards the end of the game as well. I think the confidence is high. One, when you're playing against a team like the New York Knicks, of course you're going to take those big shots. And then amplified when you're playing in the Madison Square Garden, in the limelight, in the city that never sleeps. You want to take those big shots. And I think a lot of players had the opportunity tonight to really go out there and do just that. And I will say that as exciting and as electric as the New York Knicks fan base is, despite having a terrible team, if you did check in, we're going semi with the Raptors and the Pelicans tonight. If you tune into that game at all, their fan base was going nuts, and they have just as bad of a team, arguably. That guy Zion Williamson, he's just bringing electricity into the air. Who knows? Maybe we'll get him on the Toronto Raptors one day. But that's it. We're talking about this game right now. I apologize for being back and forth, but at the end of the day, maybe somebody thinks that Raptors-Knicks matchup is an exciting matchup, but I apologize even when it's close down the stretch. Even when you have to slug out a win in the last minute and 27 seconds, even when you need late-game heroics from your all-star starter in Pascal Siakam, it just still doesn't seem that interesting of a regular season game. I would have been shocked if the Raptors lost this one tonight. And without further ado, we don't need to drag on this podcast. Let's bring it into the segment, shall we? The spicy Pele of the day. It's none other than Spicy P himself, Pascal Siakam. I already mentioned it because it was worth bringing up, was that closing stretch of basketball, specifically a little hezzy blow by Marcus Morris. He just way quicker, way more explosive, and then to finish it off with, as Ben likes to say, the two-hand yam. Just beautiful, and especially when it matters, especially down the stretch, that by far the spicy Pele of the day. Maybe you guys will have a different one in my mind, but of course, out of sight, out of mind, and in mind, in sight. I don't know if it has a reverse saying like that. That one definitely captured the spicy Pele of the day for me. But not all plays can be the spicy Pele. Some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight's OG's play of the day, I'm bringing it away from the Raptors game again. Zion Williamson, he jumped out of the building for a block. I didn't even see who it was against. It looked like it could have been Will Barton. It could have been Gary Harris. I'm not sure. But that man, he basically jumped over the backboard to block a jump shot, a floater. I don't know what it was. It was absurd. You're going to see it on the highlights if you haven't yet. That man, he's an animal. He's a beast. He is just athletic on a different scale. And we can bring it back into the Raptors with a block as well. I believe Serge Ibaka had a really nice block against Alonzo Trier. Someone. It was a fast break. Fred got in the way. I'd give Fred an assist on the block because he slowed down the man. He gave Ibaka enough time to catch up with the chase down, fast break, block, and not as cool as Zion's, but he still sent it away. So kudos to Serge Ibaka and Fred VanVleet for that teamwork block. And then finally, the DeMar Carroll Gold Star Award for worst performance of the night. I'm going to flick through the box score here because in a game like this, it's hard to really criticize the Toronto Raptors. Did anybody play extraordinarily bad in the plus-minus? Everybody seems pretty average. No one had an incredible amount of turnovers. Even Tony Brothers, the worst ref in the NBA potentially for having a vendetta against the Toronto Raptors, for a man that traditionally does not like to call calls. It's almost like he's out to get Kyle Lowry and get Fred VanVleet. We've all had our ups and downs with Tony Brothers. No comments or criticisms in this game, so who knows? Maybe I'll give myself the Gold Star Award tonight for being only half checked into the Raptors game and half checked into the Pelicans game. So that's it. What did you guys watch? Did you watch the Raptors game tonight? Or did you watch the Pelicans? Or maybe you watched some other team. I don't know. We're halfway through the season. It's going to get exciting real quick. Trade deadline approaching. I don't really get excited for the All-Star game because, let's face it, they need to change it up. I think that one-on-one tournament is a fantastic idea. Maybe if they brought that in, we'd inject some excitement back into it. But what's really got my gears churning is the trade deadline. What are the Raptors going to do? So check out our Fred VanVleet video if you haven't done that yet, because we allude to some trade possibilities. And otherwise, stay tuned to the channel. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And that's it for me, guys. Cheers.